came in, I also installed the Instagram because we haven't been online on the Instagram for quite a while.
Oh,
Let me see if I can. And it always takes a little bit to catch up there. So I'll wait a few seconds until it does. And it says I can add a link. Link. Rich and hydrated podcast Spotify. I didn't know you can add a link to your live.
oh,
Yeah, I'm doing that right now. Confirm. Oh, how fun. Yeah, I added it. Okay, so we're live everywhere. This is fun. What a fucking time to be alive with all this technology. Oh, love it.
right. Just like facilitating, just doing things.
Oh, so well, we always do. We always start off with a little gossip, and then we. Oh no. We start off with gossip, and then we go into real life stuff. So, obviously, July 4th is just behind us, right?
Right.
Um, we celebrated in the sense that husband took off the Friday and the Monday, and on the Friday, pardon me, on the Friday we went to the nearest town, and I'm using air quotes for the listeners because far, and it's like I don't know 700 people or something. I don't fucking know.
Right.
And there was a rodeo.
Okay.
And I realized, for one, that I have turned into a rodeo snob.
Oh, okay.
As someone who has done Arizona, who has done Montana, and now here.
Yeah.
But what mostly actually made me sad, and I know I have like a edgy side to life, and I can absolutely do the superiority and inferiority, and but this is not this time. That's not my intention. It just made me sad to see all the people who have taken on poverty as a full-on identity.
Right.
And and you see it in the way they carry themselves. And again, it's not whether kind of clothing you have, because I know, right? You can look very fancy from Walmart or not. Like, that's not it. It's the way you carry yourself, the kind of like the standards you accept in life.
Yeah.
And it made me just sad. Like, this is one of the prettiest areas nature-wise in America, I think. And there's like so much potential. And the nature here is actually very alive, right? It's very vibrant, as opposed to a lot of other where it's like a super extreme, where there's like super winter or no summer or like only dry and that, right? But here it's so vibrant, so alive. And then the economic circumstances do not match that. And I think, and this is I think where I'm going with this. I almost feel, for one, I feel sad because I feel like if you were given the opportunity to be born in America, to not utilize that opportunity, that's something completely unheard of to me. I just, my mind can't grasp it.
Right. And I think, you know what? I would say, I think it's because they don't. It's like I think we've said this before, or I've said it before, where it's like WALL-E, right? The movie WALL-E, where like it's a generation of people who have no idea where they came from and what their previous generations went through. They were born and raised in this bubble of life, and they think, this is the worst it could be, and I have it the worst, and my inheritance was this worst case scenario. And they're so used to just sitting in the floating seat that takes them everywhere, and their food's being made for them, and they're just and they're so used to that, and they've been conditioned to expect that when it's time for them to actually do anything for themselves, it's like it's almost like they're a domesticated dog now. You can't put them in the wild. I feel like a lot of it is like that kind of domestication where we used to be wolves, but now we're pugs. We can't breathe, and we generally can't even see straight. So it's like, it is that kind of almost de-evolution, like regressive type of thing, but mentality wise, right? Where people have just generally been conditioned to be more regressive, in their thinking, in their outlook. And, I've said this to people, like I saw, it's similar, but not the same. But like there was a post that I saw where, they were talking, somebody was saying, Spencer Pratt made a comment saying,
I love him, by the way.
He's like, we need to come together, right? He says, we need to come together and unite under certain things that just affect us all, right? And then he leaves a Bible verse, right? And he says, Matthew 25:12. And Matthew 25:12, if you go to it, just says, a house divided will not stand, which you don't have to believe in God to get what that means. To agree with. Like, like you can just get it. Like, and then it goes on with examples about how, you can, a nation divided will not stand, and a house divided, and it goes through this whole explanation. And ultimately at the end, right, it says, it's talking about how, this is, if you've got, if you're, all of these things I'm telling you, and why wouldn't you believe me when I say this? And and the Pharisees are like, well, you just command demons, and you're harnessing demon power to do demon things, basically projecting the very worst upon him, right? It, like, kind of almost like reading malice into everything that Jesus is saying, right? Rather than taking him just even at face value and saying, okay,
right,
fine, and so they fight him on everything. Is the whole point of that is that they're fighting him on everything and trying to always find something wrong with him, right? Which is the bigger lesson, like the allegory of what's happening right now. And so I said, so the guy who posted it was like, I don't remember the United States of America being in Matthew 25, but okay. And I was like, it's a fucking analogy, dude. Like, just go read the verse, you'd see. Like, you could Google that.
Also, I could read you fucking Anderson fairy tales that apply, and you wouldn't say, like, oh, well, America didn't live in fucking fairy tale. No,
you're right. It wasn't actually the United States in the freaking fairy tale, but the lesson stands, right? Like,
and the lesson is universal.
100%. Like, come on, it's not even. And I was like, okay, that wasn't even controversial, and you went out of your way to create controversy out of it, right? Yeah. And so I was just like, I said, if you actually read the verse, it's really not that. It's not that bad. Like, it's pretty. I would have, and the fact that it would even have to be said, like, you don't even have to go to the Bible to get that. Like, you could have just figured out that, like, a nation divided won't endure or won't stand, and and since I just don't understand why you're being so obtuse about it, and so. Bunch of people reacted, and oh, your Trumpian interpretation of the Bible. And I was like, it's not even that. Like, does it really take? I said, see, that's your problem, is that's the first thing you thought to do was to like project that, right? So I said, fine. I said, what's your alternative then? That we all just be balkanized, and like we sit here and and that you guys just wallow in your misery, and then everybody else has to keep you afloat. I said, honestly, there was a time when, like, this was, when we were living in much worse conditions, and we were happy about it because we felt privileged to have that much, and so now you're sitting here and you're complaining that you can't afford to keep your air conditioning as cool as you'd like it, right? But the fact that you even have air conditioning in the first place is not something that even entered your mind. Like you guys are you're sitting here complaining about everything wrong with the other side, never once reflecting on yourselves, never once saying, okay, I probably have problems, but let me try and find common ground with people I would normally disagree with, which you probably could. Like, we can all agree that, like, healthcare is overpriced, but how do we come to a solution on that other than tax the rich? Like, there's got to be something else. And there is, because if you just look at what the problem is, the solution isn't just for rich people to get taxed to death. The solution is, to to get middlemen out of there and to have more transparency in pricing. Like, has nothing to do with rich people, like has literally no, but you're always looking for a culprit. You're always looking for something wrong. And so as long as you can keep deflecting off yourself, then the problem always persists, right? And so you always have something to complain about. You always have a baked in excuse for yourself, right? And you always have a baked in villain. You always have a villain. So you're never starved for a plot, right? You're never just like solving shit. You're not doing anything. And I'm like, and you sit here thinking that you're so fucking enlightened, I said, but yet you're sitting here so fucking binary, like it's either, you're either taking my interpretation of the Bible or you're clearly, just reading Trump into things. And I'm just like, no, dude, like sometimes it's just at face value, you can say this is true, this is right, and call it.
Honestly, that's a level of internet brain rot, though, that I don't think one can come back from.
No, yeah, that requires healing, like actual, like
that might actually require actual Jesus.
Right.
Like actual Jesus, like coming actual down.
Miracle. Yeah, you would need a divine intervention because like you're beyond human help, right?
Yeah,
correct. No, and I believe that. Like, there's a certain point where it's like, man, let go, let God, because I can't.
That's a great example. I'm gonna read it to you. I didn't even think of bringing this up, but since we're talking about like that whole it's on the threads. I fucking hate that website. It's such a vile, mean place. Let's see. Okay, so I'm going to read you the preface. Oh, where did it go? Where did it go? Oh my God. The post got deleted because the fucking mean people came for it. Anyway, the original post was something like, men who are in heterosexual relationships, tell me something you love about your wife. Beautiful, right? And then that was the post. And then his own answer was the first in the comments. I love my wife because blah, blah, blah. And she's beautiful and whatever, right?
Okay.
And I shit you not, the comments, like it had tens of thousands of comments. Beautiful. It was so heartwarming. And the men were like, she always makes me smile. She's like, she cares for the pets and she makes the best dinner, like whatever. Like again, tens of thousands of comments. And then the angry people came in.
Of course.
I'm going to read it to you. There are two types of men in these comments. The ones whose compliments of their wives are centered on themselves. She does X, Y, Z for me. And the ones who actually admire genuine traits and not just what she does for them. I feel bad for the wives of the first group. So I responded, noticing what something does for you is an amazing trait. How are you even able to try this into something that it's not? So then, yes, it's nice when people notice the things you do for them, but that is not the compliment. But that is not a compliment about you as a question. By the way, I would actually argue that's a compliment about that person for being able to notice. But we can pause there, right? The question was, what traits do they have? Being good at making a man happy isn't a trait. The things she's talented at, her hobbies, her causes, her actual personality traits, those are the things that should be being complimented. If a man's best and this is where we go extreme. If a man's best compliment to you is what you can do for him, that is a man who only cares about himself.
Wow.
Yeah, because men who only care about themselves go online and brag about their wife. That's the trait.
Right. They would sit there and take the time to publicly appreciate their wives.
Yes.
That's how self-centered they are.
That's how self-centered they are. So I said, that is a man who only cares about himself. What an absolutely terrifying and pessimistic worldview. She goes, I am sorry that you are accepting less than you deserve to me.
Of all people. Of all people. Right. I'm like, wow. How little does she know you?
Well, but that's such that binary, right? Like, it's for me, I'm cautious. That's why I don't scroll anymore, because I actually get upset with this, because I don't know which thought is more upsetting. That these are bots, because that's what I'm going with right now. It has to be a bot. Like, I would actually experience real fear in my body if these are real humans
Right.
truly expressing their beliefs. Like that would be terrifying. So I choose that these are bots,
Right.
or it's extreme chronic internet brain behavior, and that's really fucking terrifying because
Right.
you look at this world through this lens, and there's no conversing with that, right? Because any you see, like it even turned on me that I am accepting less than I deserve.
Right.
Like I haven't even talked about anything.
No, right. Here's my thing, right? The way I see it is that there's people who often wonder, like, how can I make a difference in the world, right? And they ask that all the time. It's on the internet all the time. How can I make a difference? And and it's like, and people ascribe, making a difference as in stopping, a war, or or inventing something that saves humanity, etc. But they never
And that
ascribe.
solves like a
Right.
world problem, right?
Right. So they're the things that they're consumed with the most. But they never think about the part where it was like, the fact that you just smiled at somebody, complimented them at the store, told a woman with a crying kid, it's okay. Don't pay attention to the haters. Like, just putting somebody at ease, doing something like that is monumental to the person you do that to. And it doesn't require you to have a tremendous amount of money or power. It's the moment you meet a moment and you've affected a person's day. Like, you've changed the trajectory of their day because of that. Now, the fact that a man is describing how you've affected his life in a positive way, and that you've changed the course of a human life by making him eggs in the morning, okay? Something that is completely passe for you. You do this, and he's like, she makes me the best eggs, and I love her eggs. And it's like, I love how she makes breakfast. I love just watching her, and it tastes better because she made it. And my day just starts off on the. You've literally done this for a whole human being, okay? The idea that, like, that's insufficient for you as a human being, that unto itself does not give you any sense of fulfillment, that bringing happiness to another person and making them feel like a more complete human being, or getting them started and having a great day and changing the trajectory of their life in the way that you have, is insufficient for you, makes you the self-centered one. Right.
And on top of that, I think it's actually malicious. I think it has an actual
100%.
bad intent. And what I see happening, and again, this is a lot of, like, these conversations are instigated online, but it seeps through into real life. Like a person like this who comments something, so like who has to insert and like double down on the fact that half of the people who answered are bad people, are bad with bad intent, who are self-centered, right? Like these same people, they will go like, I want to change the world, and they probably even believe that by pointing these bad men out, that they did some women some kind of service, right? Like that's the thing, right? Like she just doesn't know.
True.
She's too dumb to understand that she's being oppressed, hated, whatever, that she's in a abusive relationship with a man who's only self-centered because he just described everything he loves about you, right? The fact that they respond so nasty, and this is using the thing you like, right, smiling at a person, saying something nice, yes, that we need that. And these same people will actually, with the same righteousness, tell someone who has a MAGA hat on, oh, you're a Nazi, or oh, right, like, because they are the bearer of, and
right, they're doing the Lord's work right now. Yeah,
they're doing the Lord's work. They have a very, very, like, it must be nice to know everything.
Right, and it must be so nice to have like this value system that is completely unattainable and
flawless.
Right, and that you can.
You better fucking be flawless, baby girl. Like, if you come with shit like that, oh, you better be fucking floating, not using toilet paper, like rainbow shooting out of your fucking ass.
Right. Like it's like you like. Under no, I mean, I think the greatest thing you could do for humanity is show it grace, and like, And she's sitting here saying, no, the greatest thing I could do is sit here and criticize the shit out of you and nitpick the crap out of you all day.
Criticize the people who actually took the time to say something nice. Like,
right?
There's something insidious about that.
Like, right. Like, so what? So a guy comes up, so you're walking down the street and a girl walks up to you and says, I really like your hair. And you're just like, that's all you see me for? That's what you would say to a person who just went, a stranger who didn't have to say anything, but didn't go out of their way to say something mean either, just complimented your appearance. And you're saying, fuck you. Don't you understand how smart I am? Don't you know that I'm like,
Absolutely.
I'm literally like amazing and anointed, and all you could do was tell me about my hair? Like
this is yes. And this is the same thing, like seeing someone hand out sandwiches to like a homeless shelter and going over, oh, you're just doing sandwiches? What if they're fucking gluten intolerant? Have you thought about that?
No, you don't.
What about
all you just think of yourself?
All you think about yourself. Yeah, because you would want a sandwich. Like
there was a lady, there was a lady who did that in a community group. They were taking up collections for charity, like the boxes and cans of food and whatever. And hey, can you guys just, would you be willing to donate anything you can bring by? We're happy to come pick it up, right? This original post was like, we'll come pick it up from you if you're relatively close, but just, if not, can you meet us halfway, whatever. But we basically are just trying to do this food drive.
Yeah.
And of course, another person chimes in and says, and don't just give your expired stuff. And I was like, girl, I buy expired stuff. What are you talking about? I was like, I'm sorry, but I eat shit past the date all the time. Like, I don't waste if I don't have to. But like, honestly, like if I'm not above it, neither is a person who can't afford to buy what I got. So like, use it, don't use it. I don't care. But if you don't want, if you're going to be snobby and you don't want generic and you don't want, you don't want expired, or you don't want things that are close to expired or whatever, it's like, okay, then don't take it. Or don't bring it yourself. Like fucking you go to Whole Foods and drop $300 on 3 cans of beans and like whatever, like, I don't know. But like, it's that kind of like self-righteousness,
Is that what is that? Yeah. Yeah.
It is.
And Danielle had it in her, because I'm in the Facebook community where Danielle lives, and she to their house obviously is a dirt road, and they have taken it up on themselves to drag the dirt road once every, I don't know, especially after it's rained. Like yeah, it's not a community thing, like as in like someone is assigned. It's just one of the good neighbors always decides, okay, no, I'll just drag the road, right? And then so the conversation was like, hey, we're dragging the road, blah, 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 just so you know. And someone said, well, since you're doing that, why don't you take away the trash that's been dropped there on the corner?
Wow. Or you could, because you know where it is.
That's Danielle said, literally, feel free to go there yourself and pick it up. But it's the pointing out that what someone is doing willingly, for free, with legit good heart is somehow not only good enough, not good enough. It's just bad. It's like I said, it's a terrifying mindset to me. I'm shocked. I'm not quickly shocked, but I'm the more online time I spend, that's why I don't spend it too much anymore, the more shocked I am.
Yeah. No, it's I mean, that kind of living, like I don't understand like how, I saw a similar thing where somebody went out of their way to post something about how horrible we have it under capitalism. Capitalism has just done this horrible thing, and I'm just like, okay. And they're like, now everything is, and they don't really have a working knowledge of what capitalism is anyway, but they were, but it's like, so somebody chimes in and says, I don't normally get into this stuff, but like your great grandparents were like dying of preventable disease and living in their own lice. Okay. With no plumbing, like no plumbing, no plumbing, no central air, none of that shit. There's Parisians coming here now who don't have central air conditioning. Okay, so like there are people in first world countries that do not understand what it is to have air conditioning and ice on a regular basis. Like, like, and you're sitting here complaining about capitalism from your fucking iPhone, and it's just like they just don't, they're so, they think that that like a truly civilized, and I think that's what it is. It's like, it's their distorted understanding of what civilized is. And that
no, we have to, like, let's get into that, by the way, because I don't think it's not only distorted. I think because of capitalism and the safety it is, it's like they're aspiring for it to be flawless and inhumane by the virtue of no unpleasant experiences or sensations.
Correct. It should be the most pleasant experience and perfect experience.
Only pleasant.
Right.
And the unpleasantries should be bred, beaten, mandated, punished, jailed, imprisoned out of humanity, right?
Right. We'll just punish it out.
Yeah. Inner sensations.
Right. But there's been dystopian books written about this stuff, right? Like The Giver was one of those, where it was like
The Giver.
Mm-hmm. If you go see it, it's everybody was, everybody is it's almost like ultra Scandinavian, really, because it's kind of like you never really want more than what you got, and you shouldn't want too much. What you have is sufficient, type of thing. Yeah, definitely we can do it. But essentially, it's all contained. Everybody's provided for. Everybody has a house. Everybody has, a job, and everybody has a purpose. And maybe we have to cull a few people, babies that don't come around soon enough to, don't develop at the rate that we need them to. Maybe we just kind of put them to sleep. And, there's a whole darker underbelly of it that's really kind of, gruesome. But
that's the thing. When there's a movie about it too?
Yeah.
Oh, there's a movie about it.
Yep.
Oh, you've seen it?
Yep.
Damn.
But there's a book about it. It's based on a book called The Giver. But
yeah. I'm just seeing that they made a movie too. I love it. Ordered the book. We'll watch the movie. Well, so where does this sterilizing of anything unpleasant come from? Because it seems to like the people who associate capitalism with not flawless enough, right? They have the tendency inwards too, right? So bad people, bad things, but there's no real, it's a very like infantile, like everything needs to be, again, infant. Like, and as an infant, you're kind of expected for the world to be pleasant, fun, nice, because you kind of live from pleasantry to pleasantry, right?
Yeah, and your parents shelter you from a lot.
Exactly.
So they basically slowly introduce the
world.
Right. But they let you fall down when you're a toddler, even though they know you're going to fall down. They don't want you to get hurt, but you need to know what consequences are. So,
And until you're like, I don't know, 12, you're not going outside after 6 p.m. because it's, more dangerous because it's dark, whatever. Right. So and then get a little bit older, you get to stay out till 8 p.m. or like 9 p.m. And then it becomes 11 p.m., right? Because the world gets introduced to you in its raw form.
Right. Slowly. Right. And I think, that's, I think the idea of like, I think it goes back to the fact that like their idea of civilization is that in a truly civilized society, there's no adversity. This. Right? A truly civilized society would have no adversity, would have no tribulation, would have no poverty. And so they have this utopian notion. They've associated a utopia with what it is to be civilized. But the reality is that civilization has very little to do with, like, I think civilization is basically how we treat one another. That's what civility is. Civility has nothing to do with how you perceive the world or what your personal tribulations are.
When civilization can only exist on the back of actual war and violence.
Right.
Because that safe environment can only be created if there's someone on the other side being like, protecting, right? Like protecting that bubble, like a parent almost.
Right.
Which is violent by inherently.
Right. That there's an implicit threat there that if you disrupt this, right, that there's a stasis, there's a cultural stasis that is defining your civilization, right? And every country has their own thing. Like what they consider to be civilized are these cultural practices. Or the lack of these cultural practices.
Exactly.
Like in some case, in many Western civilizations, animal and human sacrifice is not part of our civilization. That is not what we consider to be. We call that barbaric.
Plenty of normal in other cultures.
Correct.
Right.
So, but in the United States, you try to introduce that, and you'll get shouted down. Like that's not okay. Like and so you have to find extreme examples because the United States is pretty tolerant of a lot of shit. But like. But at the end of the day, like, I think we're also paying for that, being tolerant of shit is, in its own way, you start to see a sort of colonialization by the underbelly or by that lowest common denominator that ultimately starts to come up.
The loudest.
It's the loudest and it's the most,
yeah.
And so imposing, and it starts to get too big for its britches and starts to impose on others, and so you get
and the people who. So this is the thing, even like there's a counter side to it. The people who would normally have to shout that down, they have never been exposed to shouting that down to that skill, so they just tolerate.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that's where we are right now.
Yeah, it's funny because I saw I forget where I saw it. I forget which show I was watching, but it was talking about the Romans and their relationship with the Jews during the time of Jesus. And the way in which the Romans were kind of like, we kind of just want to keep the peace. We're just trying to keep the peace because the more disruption there is, the worse it looks on me as either the praetor or the governor or the leader. They're going to say, I can't keep things in line. So I need to keep the peace. So there were a lot of things that the Romans didn't do because they were afraid of the retaliation and the potential uprising of and upset that it would cause. Like, we're trying not to rock the boat, we're just trying to keep it peaceful, everybody just be cool, let's see if we can handle this quietly. There was a lot of that, and I get it, like that stacks up historically as just who they were. Like, they're not trying to constantly have an upset within their empire. It's not any good for them to have that,
Mm-hmm.
And you could say the same, like you could use that as an analogy for today.
Oh, but the Americans weren't there, in story.
But you can see it. Like, the UK is a great example. We just want to keep the peace. We're just trying to keep, we're just trying to make everything. Everybody can live here. Everybody can live here peacefully. Blah blah blah. Right? They keep trying to appease this smaller group of people who aren't British. Right? In the same way, the Jews were not Romans. They kind of were a community within Rome that had to live there. They weren't unto themselves considered Romans. They just happened to be there. So the same is true with like how like a lot of the immigrants are being treated in England. You're not British. You have not acclimated to Britain. You have not adopted British culture. You speak with a British accent and you live here, but you live in your own culture. Sikhs live in their own culture. Muslims live in their own culture. Like, they're given that ability to do their own thing
freedom
within the UK. Mm-hmm. The problem that's happening is that now they're pulling the strings and they're the ones kind of dicking around and jerking around the British government. So the question.
Sorry.
Yeah. So ultimately, the question is, right, and this is what it boiled down to.
Yeah.
How is it, and how do you justify, to your point, right, how this is all predicated on violence and conquest? How do we justify the victors being controlled by the vanquished? Because that's essentially it.
Right. And I had this conversation with husband because like people know I'm kind of in like the prepper world, digitally at least, right? I like my ammunition. I like my physical preparation and digital preparation.
Mhm.
Um and one of the situations that recently happened is, I think it was Scotland, one of the islands, um, where one of the immigrants, like fucking cliche talk, cut off someone's head in the middle of the street, and it was like there was like an act of, there was like, this, this and some of the people went to the streets to march. We no longer want this. We don't. And I'm like, and the commentary of the rest of the world was like, oh, UK and Scotland is finally waking up. And I'm like, I don't think you understand, because they're not actually, because they have not exercised the gene of violence for that long. They will not be able to match the violence that these people are bringing in, right? They're professional at violence. So, and clearly by doing such horrendous acts, like there's no shame, like there's no culturally holding them back
No,
or
right.
trying to live up to a certain standard. So you're trying to match someone who's been very, very acclimated with certain type of violence, and you're going to be like, oh, you don't have the power anymore to nip that in the fucking butt.
Right.
And that's a fucking problem.
Correct.
And because this is now, and we like now obviously it's the Western versus the immigrant, but this is just like a toddler who's constantly getting its own way by getting louder and louder. You shouting back one time is not going to change the dynamic, because
Right.
that toddler has practice, is excelling at that, whatever it's doing, right?
Right.
And you would have to invite such disproportionate amount of violence to check that, to counterbalance that, to kind of fucking wobble that thing in its head. And it's funny because I see it with animals all the fucking time, right? Like, so my dogs, perfect example. The puppies constantly want attention of the older dogs, and they make like super weird, and they're trying to lick their mouth, and you'll see the older dogs go like, right? He's like, hey, that's my noise. And the older dogs will kind of growl, but the puppy won't fucking listen to that.
Mm-hmm.
It will just keep pushing in its face. And then the dog goes, rah! And now now the puppy is bleeding, because just just gently expressing, yo, you're going too far. This is not working.
Right. That's right. That's right. And they don't, I mean, and those boundaries are clear with animals. Like, and I mean, we're supposed to be more sophisticated. And I think we've overthought ourselves out of something as primal as this, right? To understand like what the boundaries are and what is acceptable, what's not acceptable.
Yeah.
So like when I see Japan standing up for itself and saying things like, yeah, we don't have physical burial here. You cremate here because we're small and there's no fucking space. So that's not a thing. We're not doing this. And the Muslims are like, we don't cremate. That's against our religion. And it's like, then go send the bodies home. Send the bodies home and bury them at home then, because it's not happening here. Like they're like, if you're going to be here, we want you to learn the language. If you're going to get some sort of residency here, if you want a visa here that to stay for longer than a tourist, you need to learn the language. Mm-hmm. Well, that's not fair. Then don't come here. Like, that's it. Like, they're just calling it. Like, they're just saying that's enough. And, and I get it. Like, it's like, well, it just shows such intolerance. And it's like, because it is. And that's right.
Where does the expectation of tolerance coming from? Because as an Eastern European, the idea that someone is owing you, any flexibility or meeting you in the middle is a non-thing, right? Yeah. This is a Western nation. This is a Western concept.
Yeah.
And you see it, and like, whether good or bad, like in East Europe, kids will not act a certain way in public, because if you as a parent don't fucking correct them, a stranger actually fucking will.
Correct.
Like that's resulting in beautiful kids. And it's not that kids can't be kids. In the playground, they can scream all they fucking want. They can have, like, right, there's a time and space for it. Here in the modern West, we're trying to fucking explain to little Linda how she has big feelings and how no. Right. So the dynamics are, so where does this come from? That is this like the desire to be perceived as good? Like, because if someone else comes and says like you're intolerant, like that's all of the last fucking 5 digital movements were based on that. And people be like, oh, I wouldn't want to be considered intolerant.
Or else what? What happens if you're not tolerant?
What are you gonna do?
That's like saying, they're like, somebody was talking about the recent Supreme Court ruling where they were saying that, biological males cannot play in female sports. And, basically the states can decide that for themselves, right? And Ketanji Brown, says, well, that's discriminatory. And I'm like, well, yeah, of course it is. Truth is discriminatory. Truth is exclusive. It's inherently exclusive. It excludes all things that are not true, right? So, like, yes, if you are living in a true way, then by definition you would be exclusive. If there is a truth to your culture, then all things that do not comport with that would be excluded by definition. Like, that's how it works. That's how the world works. And there are superior and inferior cultures. The idea that they're all equally valid is like saying, it was like
But that's like saying every person is equally valid. Like, fuck the cultures. Like, right. Insinuating that all people, individuals, are valid or equal. I fucking sure the fuck hope not.
Right. We're not equal. Why would you think that? Like, where did this delusion come from? Like, the whole, I feel
where did it come from?
Where did the delusion of like we're all inherently like the same? And like equality, that they took equality under the law, which should be true, right?
Absolutely.
To equality as in our existence. No.
So this is the thing. When people argue for equality and intolerance, like, I get insulted because you mean to tell me that a pedophile and I are the fucking same?
We're not. Right, we're not. But if I were to perpetrate a crime equivalent to that, I would be treated equally to any other person who committed that crime. That is the equality. But this notion, I got into it with, of course, a bunch of feminists, and I don't understand why, but like we did, because of course. And like there was a guy who was talking about, and I swear to God, this only comes up like every other month. It just, this topic comes up from somebody. Emotional work. Okay. Which
emotional labor.
I joke about this shit because it's a fucking joke. Guys like talking about how women do all the emotional work. And I'm like, in what way do we do emotional work? Well, you're doing all the planning and you're thinking about all the things that need to be done and da da da. And I said, fine.
You mean life?
Yeah. I was like, but I said, okay, but my husband and I will walk into a place and he will be focused on completely different things from me. We just do. So like my husband looks at a house, right? He'll walk in and say, okay, where are all the exits? Where is the safe room if something were to happen? That's what he's thinking, right? He's kicking the tires and looking under the hood and saying, does this have good bones? Does the house have good bones? Is it functional? Is it safe? Is it locked in? Is it, is it well insulated? Like, that's what he's looking for. I'm like, will my furniture fit? Right?
What kind of cabinets do I want? By the way, I was just blocking people because they were making nasty comments. So that's why you were seeing me do this. Yeah. What kind of color walls do I want?
And I'm thinking, but I'm thinking like, is the kitchen functional for me to cook? Like I'm looking at that. Where am I putting all of my shit? Where do I put, is there enough room for all our shit? Like, is that a thing? Am I willing to pare down my shit to make it fit because I really like the house? I'm thinking logistics. He's thinking functionality. Between the two of us, we've now covered everything that needs to be considered for the house. If we're both thinking of the same fucking shit, there's a whole fucking blind spot between the two of us that has been missed, right? So now both of us are looking at the functionality.
And then we'll have to hire someone to do the labor.
Right. And I said, what you're describing about women is their virtue. You're saying females have this inclination towards details that men may not see. Maybe women are more short-sighted, men are long-sighted, or men are thinking about the end state almost blind to the exception of anything or the exclusion of anything else. They're so single tracked on this end state, and you're thinking about all the processes along the way, and that's how you're thinking. I said that women are inclined to just think that way. Isn't you have to stop thinking of like your default as emotional work. It's just your default. It's who you fucking are. In the same way, like men aren't doing the emotional work of worrying about your safety. They're just inclined to be protective. So that's what they're going to do. But they don't go online and say, why do I have to do all the emotional work about safety and functionality?
Why do I have to calculate all the time?
Why doesn't she think about the exits in the house? Why isn't she thinking about the functionality of the electrical panel? Because it ain't her shit. It's your shit.
Exactly. And it's just the way you are wired. Like it's not an inherent like a trade that you had to learn or something, by the way.
Correct.
We had such a beautiful example multiple times here in the house because like when recently a puppy got sick and I can hear the way it was pacing middle of the night and I could hear like it woke me up, come in, puke everywhere, so I could tell so the puppy was sick. Husband was not even awake, right? Was not like. And then another night, something outside happened in the middle of the night. I didn't wake up. He was instantly went outside with a firearm, right? Yeah. And he's like, "Did you not hear it?" I'm like, but the next day I was like, "Did you not hear the puppies?" And he's like, "Balance, baby.
Yeah, it's okay.
That's how it goes."
But like, you don't have to sit there and resent him because he doesn't do the same things you do. I said, that's not the point. I said, I don't understand why you find this to be so inferior for women to do. Like, why is it that every default setting that a woman has, I'm like, it's almost as if you're the misogynist, right?
It's twofold because they'll also say that women are the most powerful in the same fucking breath.
Yeah. All right. Give me the name of the female that fixes your car, comes and fixes your plumbing, fixes your electric.
Built your house.
Yeah, built your house. Go ahead and give me the list of females that you've hired to fill in those areas. I'm sure they're female. You don't have a male electrician and a male plumber and a male construction worker.
The gender war is so retarded. Like,
it's stupid. It's petty.
And it's boring. See, it's chronic internet shit. Like,
It is, and it's got these women thinking that they're like strong and independent. Yeah, you're.
Why the fuck are you fighting with like comparing yourself to men? That's so weird to me.
It's literal misogyny because you think that everything that you are inherently as a woman, everything that you are as a woman is inherently inferior. You've already bought into it. You already believe that, and so now you're struggling to prove that you're a better man. And I'm just like,
this is the thing. Why are you trying to be a better man? Like, why are you doing a dick contest? For one, you ain't got a dick.
Right. But second of all, dudes don't find that shit attractive. Men don't. If men want to date men, they'll be gay. Men want to date women because they're not them. They're literally not them. They're something other than them. That's why they like you. Like,
someone literally talked about this week. That one of the guy friends was jealous of her as a woman. I'm like, men who compare themselves to women are the same kind of scary as the women who compare themselves to men. What are you doing?
Stop it. Yeah, stop
really it. Weird. Yeah. Really weird.
Yeah. Like, there's no reason for that. That's a level of insecurity, and like that, like. You can't, and they blame social conditioning, and I'm just like, no, I already walked that block several times. I was actually conditioned to be a feminist. Like, that's how my parents were. My parents are my mom's a boomer, my dad's like a late silent generation. But I mean, they were disciplined, but they were still like very much like very, very much, like, I don't know, female empowerment or some bullshit like that, And I'm just like, I fell into that trap. And I was talking to my son about it. And I was like, I said, it was a trap. It was definitely a trap, And I said, they thought they were doing me a favor by feeding my, and they thought they were building my confidence But what they were really doing was setting me up for dissatisfaction, basically. Not failure. I haven't failed, in that sense. It's just that, it's that they thought that I would find satisfaction in a career, that I would find satisfaction in, ascension in a job. And I'm like, I just don't know that that's as satisfying for me. Like, what would have been really satisfying would have been, is more like, for me, a lot more like social than it is professional. Like, I find success in the types of friends I'm surrounded by. I find success in the kind of house I live in, and like and the way it's kept, and the way it's curated. I find success in being able to make more things by myself rather than buy it at the store. Like, I find deep satisfaction in that. I find satisfaction in my kids looking forward to me cooking for them. Like, I do not find satisfaction in saying I have this great nifty title at work. Like, that does not give me the same satisfaction in life. Like, it's cool. I like the money, and that's, and it's neat that I get to do that. And I don't suck at it, but like, as in terms of like fulfilling my life's purpose, like, I was not put on this earth to be a media planner. Like, that was not like my cosmic purpose. Like, I was meant to connect with people. I was meant to, to have like an experience and like have revelations about myself, and, help other people learn about themselves, and to improve myself, and to be a better human being. Like, that's life. Life was never about the fact that, by this age, I should be at this stage of my career making X amount of money. Like,
yeah,
but I was sold that. I was sold that and conditioned with that. And, and so people think I was conditioned the other way because of my views, but I'm like, no. I broke out of that, actually. Like, I'm actually a recovering feminist, if anything.
And same. And I remember when I moved to the modern West, that at one point, like, feminism was being sold to me, right? Like, it's being marketed to me. And I'm like, wait, so I got to be and the dude and the woman? Like, I remember explicitly asking this. And I think where I got fucked up and caught up in the feminism is that I am an outlier. I love business. Mm-hmm. I have a very, or let's say, my nurture trait looks very differently than maybe more of a traditional woman. Might also be partially because I don't have any kids for myself, right? I'm open for all of that to be true, so that, like, it never got really woken. I clearly have a nurture because the dogs, you can tell by all my animals in my home, but I enjoy really making money. I enjoy building in that sense, not in physical building. Still couldn't be fucking bothered. But I think so I fell for that. Feminism lured me into that. And then I had to undo myself. I'm like, oh no, I'm very much probably like a traditionalist. I am just the outlier who likes the building and who's very fucking good at it.
Right.
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 I'll never go to war, by the way. I'll fucking never build shit because I have fucking pretty nails. Y'all can fuck off.
Right. Correct. I mean, but that's the thing, right? It's like recognizing like what the pattern is rather than trying to make yourself the exception because you're so ashamed of that default setting and that primal instinct. It's like, look, it's going to present itself one way or another. I mean, whether, you're going to nurture things and you're going, even if you say, well, I have my own business, I'm an entrepreneur. Yeah, you don't run it the same way a dude does.
No, 100. No, 100. And that's the strength, by the way, right? That's because I did
depending on the nature of the business. Correct.
Exactly.
Right. But he's going to make decisions that you're, he's going to take risks because that's who he is. Like, absolutely. But like I looked at so I was watching like my son play soccer, right? He was at a camp and I was watching him play soccer. And his instinct to run toward conflict was almost terrifying to watch. But I've never seen a kid just drop a gear and take off toward conflict as fast as any of these kids on the field were doing, right? But my son included. Like, he's sitting there waiting in his position and he's, doing whatever. And I thought he was just I thought he was kind of like goofing off a little bit because he's just sitting there like he's just doing that. And I was like, dude, pay attention. Like, what the fuck? Dude was totally paying attention the whole time.
He was waiting for the goal.
Yeah. The moment the ball hit where he could be and he started needing to be there, boom, like just out of nowhere, takes off. Like there's almost this blur of where he is, and he's running and he's going toward the console. Like he's got 5 kids descending on him. I say kids, they're like 18, 19 years old.
Sure.
They're all descending on him. He's 6 feet and like 155 pounds. Like he's dense, you know, and there's so much like young testosterone on that field. And they're going hard. They're going because they're trying to get recruited. So this is a recruitment camp. So like they're running towards the ball. He's going in there. You can see like how they're pounding on the ground, how hard they're running, and how he's in there. And like that, and it just instinctively, he'll go as hard as he has to. Like, he unrelenting. I watched one kid, and you could tell a coach like conditioned him to do this. You don't slow down until you know there's no chance to get the ball. You don't slow down. You keep going until there is no chance for you to get the ball, right?
Zero.
So I'm watching this kid running at full speed at a goalie. Goalie gets the ball, throws his body on it like it's his own child, right? So his body is on the ball. He won't move. He sees 2 or 3 dudes running at him, okay, all at least 150 to 200 pounds apiece, running at full speed, coming at him, and he's just there like this over the ball. And I'm like, oh my God, the kid's going to be roadkill. He's going to die. The boys that were coming kept running, would not slow down, despite the position of this kid over the ball, kept going because they thought they could chicken him out of it and make him leave, you know, and make him, you know, abandon the ball for his own safety, would not leave, right? So they're just facing off.
Oh my gosh.
Boys are running. They at the end, like they don't hit him. They jump over the kid and they go around him. But like they were really testing to see if he would give in, you know?
That's
and
so
he was
good.
testing to see if they would give it because nobody was giving up, right? That's men. That's why their insurance premiums are higher than women's, because men will just do this. Like they don't have to be coached to be fearless. They are inherently fearless, and they have to be coached on how to rein it in.
Yes.
Women have to be coached into taking risk. Men have to be coached back from it. Like that is who we fucking are hormonally, like chemically. That's how we are for a reason, by the way.
So good. So
for
good.
a reason. Mm-hmm. To your point, they will go to war for you. Mm-hmm. They will go to war for you. Women will go to war for their kid. They will go to war for particular things. They will go fight and they will lay their life down. But for
and will not stand a chance, by the way, when it comes to physical combat, right? Yeah. I'm also very much against women being cops. Like, it's a fucking mess. Or like women being in the police force as a speaking person, therapist, all for it, but not on the fucking floor. Y'all are a fucking mess.
Right. You're not strong enough to do this. Like, though, I mean, look at the
because you're not strong enough, you have to overcompensate with weapons, authority, et cetera, et cetera. It's a no bueno.
Right. So, like, I mean, who is taking down the guy who's 250 pounds, 6'4" on PCP? Like, who's taking him down? Your 5'4" ass at a $130? Hell no. You're not. You're not taking him down. So, like, it's like even looking at the Secret Service. Why do you have females at 5'7" trying to guard a president that's over 6 feet tall? She can't do anything. Like, all she can do is scream. She might be able to do crowd control to some degree, you know, put herself between people. She's not blocking shit.
No,
he's a whole head taller than her.
You're 2/3 of him. Yeah.
You're not, but I don't like this thing where it's like, I mean, same thing with like pilots. Like, I feel like that's high risk and it's high, you know, like it's like, these are high risk jobs that like require like a certain amount of like comfort in that space, that you have to be comfortable with that high risk environment. You've got a cabin full of 200 people relying on you to do the right thing and make the right call in the right moment. Like, I don't know that women will do the same as a man. Like there was a guy, I think he was a stand-up comedian who was saying, give me the guy who flew a plane during the Vietnam War. I want that guy to fly my plane. Because that motherfucker lived. Like, he survived a war in a plane. He's gonna make it. He's gonna get me from New York to Dallas, like, for sure. He's got this locked in. But
so good. I feel like we solved it again. I also have to pee, so I feel like we can close off on this.
Okay,
we solved it again, as per usual.
As per usual, yes.
As per usual,
yes. Love it.
Everyone, rich and hydrated, diamonds and demons next week, Tuesdays. See y'all then.
All right.